it's not all good news. There's also bad news. Getting vaccinated in this country is still way too hard and way too confusing. There's still supply chain problems and organizational problems that have led to canceled appointments and frustration and people waiting for their vaccines who really should have already gotten them. States have complained for weeks about inaccurate and inconsistent information from the federal government on how much vaccine they can have. Hopefully the Biden administration is turning that around.
So I got something to say about that. You know, nobody thought that Joe Biden would not stutter his words after he won the election. Before the election, he would stutter his words. He wouldn't remember things. He's like, oh, I'm going to sign a Buy American Act. Well, Trump already did that. You know, he said, I'm going to revoke the Defense Production Act. Well, Trump already did that. You know, he's saying doing a lot of stuff that Trump said he would. You know, he's saying a lot of stuff that he would do that Trump already did. But it's like, no. But, you know what? We'll move on from Trump. And we'll elect another, hopefully a new president. And hopefully we elect a Republican president. And for anybody that, so the next presidency is in 2024. November 5th, 2024 is when election day is. And if you don't believe me, you can always go on your iPhone or whatever, or check and see if you can look at future calendars and see that it would be November 5th. Because it's always, election day is always the first Tuesday after the first Monday. And so you don't even have, you don't even have to believe me, you can look it up, and so basically, if people want to elect a Republican president, you're gonna have to nominate a Republican, you're gonna have to nominate a Republican nominee that actually can do a job and actually win the debates in the fall of 2024 against a Democrat opponent. So some names that I think could beat a Democrat opponent would be Mike Pence. That would be the first option. Second option would be Ted Cruz. I would say I'm just trying to think of better ones. Let's see here. Governor Ron DeSantis from the state of Florida. Those are just a few options. It's up to them if they want to run. I think it'd be nice if they ran. And then, at least all three of them, if more Republicans come out and say, hey, I want to be the nominee, pay attention to what they say at the Republican primary debates. Because if you don't, and you nominate a wrong person as a Republican nominee to go against a Democrat nominee in 2024, you're gonna have problems. It's gonna be problems where you're gonna end up electing another Democrat as president. So, for all you Americans out there in the United States here, make sure that you know who you're nominating to be a Republican nominee. And so, the first primary or the caucus or whatever is beginning of February 2024. When it comes to Super Tuesday on March 3rd, which is kind of weird. I don't think, actually it may not even be March 3rd. Okay? But actually, it might be actually March 3rd. It's either March 3rd or it's the first Tuesday of the month of March. Be aware that when Super Tuesday happens, that a lot of the states on Super Tuesday are actually nominating a good Republican nominee. Make sure that on Super Tuesday of 2024 that you're voting for a Republican candidate that's actually going to represent good things. Not saying what the top issues would be, whether it's economy, healthcare, immigration, not saying what could happen within the next few years. But we'll see, We'll see when it comes close to the primaries of 2024 of what the top issues are. Okay? So, at that point, we would say, hey, let's elect this guy because this is the number one issue. The number one issue in 2020 was coronavirus. So, and you know what? I agree to all those people that, probably don't like Trump, probably didn't, like some of his ideas, but like some. I didn't like the fact of him dealing with coronavirus. I watched the press briefings with the coronavirus task force, and I would watch Trump on there, and I just wasn't happy with Trump. And so I think people realize that too. That's why they elected Joe Biden. And I guess that's one of the reasons they thought Joe Biden would do better with the virus, and hopefully we'll see what the next few years are. But yeah, but and it was every single day. It's like you don't have any new information, President Trump, or former President Trump now. It's like you're not doing anything, Like it's like ridiculous. Like you didn't do anything, and you just kept talking the same stuff. You literally oh, this is what the cards are. This is how many people are more. It's like the mainstream media covered that all the time, And it's like people were like, number one issue is coronavirus. But in the next few years, and when it comes to Super Tuesday of 2024, hopefully coronavirus is not even an issue. Hopefully the viruses are gone by then. Maybe it'd be economy again. If it's economy again, then people would probably elect a Republican president for sure on November 5th of 2024. If it's immigration, it could be either way. Or if it's foreign policy, it could be either way, but more leaning towards Republican. But in the same case, it's like, hey, elect a Republican president because on November 5th, 2024, and but on Super Tuesday of 2024, all the states and on Super Tuesday 2024, make sure that all these states that a Republican nominee gets more than other nominees. Make sure that the person you actually are voting for, that you actually cast the ballot and off the Republican selection of a candidate that is going to get the most delegates, and if they win that state, they get the delegates. Because if you can actually get them to get the delegates, that's awesome. Because then you nominate that person when it comes to end of July of 2024, when they officially nominate the person. Because that's how it is. That's when it is. 2020, they had to delay because of COVID, but they weren't sure how they can do it. So they did it virtually. And so, but please, I beg of you, to all of the Americans out there in the United States, please do not elect a Democrat on November 5th, 2024. Early voting starts as soon as possibly September 1st of 2024. So anytime between September 1st and November, let's say 6th, please try to cast a ballot for whoever the Republican nominee is. You may, if if you don't even agree, at least agree with the number one or number two issue that's facing the country. But make sure that you are actually studying this guy, studying or whatever. Because if we elect a Democrat president in 2024, our country is like, I'm not even going to say it. I'll leave that up to the candidates or whatever. But make sure, for sure, that you, on Super Tuesday, and anytime then, you nominate a person for sure that can defeat a Democrat nominee in the fall in the debates, and that they pick a good vice president Republican nominee to defeat a Democrat person, or Democrat vice president nominee to win the debate as well. Make sure that you actually nominate a good person that can defeat a Democrat nominee and a vice president Democrat nominee. Because if you don't, our country is SOS, shut out of luck. Actually, that's SOL actually. I was thinking something else. But you get my point. So please do not elect a Democrat president in November 5th, 2024. And when you do early voting, make sure that you do early voting to do it early as around September 1st, 2024. There was a discussion about what's the difference between mail-in balloting and absentee balloting. Well, I'll tell you, mail-in balloting is where the government force you by sending you a ballot. They send you a ballot and expect you to return it by a certain date, usually a week before election day, which in this case the next election will be November 5th, 2024. So you would have to get your ballot mailed out a week before, or else it shouldn't count. But the difference between mail-in balloting and, like I said, mail-in balloting is where the government sends you a ballot, and they expect you to actually fill it out. Now and you gotta believe what I'm saying, because I'm election judge. Okay, I've done 3 days of being an election judge. I'm gonna end up doing more. So, and they teach us this stuff. They taught me last time. They said, hey, I have a ballot that I need that I brought from home, that I assigned and filled out. Can I put it in the machine? My supervisor said no, they can't. They have to go to the election county office and actually give it to them there. Which is fine. If you can drop it off, that's fine. As long as you don't mail it. Okay? But here's the problem. If you do a mail-in ballot, there's a good chance that you're going to receive a ballot, but if you send that ballot late, let's say a week before, there's a good chance that if you go vote and whatever, because on a voting machine, or when people register to vote, it would tell on the machine, it says you have already voted, we cannot let you vote again. But if they get their ballot in late, then they're technically voting twice, because not only the ballot probably even came in yet until later on election day, or the point that they haven't updated their system where the ballot has already been entered, where they can't say, hey, we can't let you vote because you already voted. Okay, so at that point you are voting again. But in a way, that's why it should be longer than a week that you have to get your mail in your ballot. But mail-in balloting is where the government sends your ballot. They forcefully send your ballot. Absentee balloting is where you request it, you ask, where the government doesn't force you, or doesn't force a ballot to your house or in the mail. So, but absentee ballot is where you request it and then they give it to you. Okay, there's a difference between mail-in balloting and absentee. One is you request it, and the other one is they forcefully give it to you. So, and it shouldn't be that way, And I've had problems. I was like, I did the election judge, and I was like, oh, maybe I, let them vote. And there's sometimes I registered people, check people in, and I said, what's your first name? What's your first 3 letters of last name? Because you only need first 3 letters of last name and first name. Sometimes middle name if it's got the same name, first and last name. They would say their name, and it would come up with an error saying that they're not in the system. And I would ask them and say, are you registered to vote? And they say, yes, I am. The problem is, the reason they're not registered to vote when they say they're not registered to vote is because they literally registered within 30 days before election day. So if you're which means they call it poll pads, where the poll pads, they don't update the system in the poll pad saying that this person's saying this person is in the system, because they've already they don't, they're not going to just update it a couple of days before election day. They literally so if they say, hey, if I say, hey, are you registered to vote? And they say, yes, I am. I'd say, well, you must have registered in the last 30 days, even though I didn't ever say that. But that if they registered in the last 30 days, more than likely the poll pads don't get updated within sometime in that 30 days before election day, where they literally are, how would I say this, entered into the name. At that point, you don't know if they did an absentee ballot or did early or went to a spot and did early voting within the past 30 days, because they say, hey, in the last 30 days I actually voted, but they just think that, and then they go to election day and think that the polls, or that the poll pad is not updated, so they try to vote again, which is illegal. It's called voting twice. And so it's like, it's like, how do you know, how do you know if it's so interesting. It's like, you literally said that you are already registered to vote, but you're not in the system, which means, goes back to the other thing. I'm not going to say it again because I don't want to repeat it, but you guys get my point, okay? So at that point, at this point, please, just whatever you do not elect a Democrat. Joe Biden says he's only going to be in office for 1 term. If he decides to run again in 2024, if he does, or whatever, no matter if he decides to run in 2024 or he does not decide in 2024 and it's a different Democratic nominee and possibly a different Democrat vice president nominee, whatever you do, for all you people out there, please do not elect a Democrat nominee. Whatever you do, whoever the Republican nominee is, please elect that guy. Our country would be way more better if that happened. Okay? And I guarantee you that things are going to be way better. Okay? So I just want to point that out, and I hope you please just listen to what I'm saying. You know, you're welcome to rewatch those videos many times so you understand, especially closer to the 2024 election. And I hope that you just make this happen. Because I cannot afford to have a Democrat not president for 8 years. You know, this next 4 years is going to be probably tough, but I can't do it for another 8 years. You know, so we got to change it in 4 years. So I just wanted to point that out, and you know, make sure you pray to God, and maybe say, "Hey God, can you do us a favor? Can you do everyone a favor and elect a Republican president on November 5th, 2024? If you can actually do that, our country would be way better, you know? If you can do that all the time and pray that, it'd be so nice. So I just wanted to point that out, and peace out.